So Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach DLC came out, and I gotta say, it blew my expectations out of the water. Pretty much everything I wanted from the character's lore, scare factor, whatever you want, is all here. Except there is one very specific thing that I was really hoping for. It didn't happen, and I'll talk about that later because I'm sad. I wanted to see it, but didn't. Whatever. Anyways, my name is Blanter, and today I'm going to talk about the newest installment in the Fnaf series, kind of, Ruin. First, we're going to look at the overall atmosphere, horror, gameplay, characters, lore. See if I'm probably putting some theories there too. What was missing, what that would have enhanced my opinion of it, even though I already think it was amazing, obviously. Then my overall thought. Obviously, spoilers for the whole game. This is a review. Atmosphere, absolutely amazing, but that's to be expected. Fnaf, it hasn't really had a bad atmosphere in like any game. Like looking at the past ones, they're all amazing. Especially Steel Wool with their environmental storytelling. They're great. Going into more detail about that though, it was really insane to go back to the Pizzaplex all ruined and destroyed. The bright, colorful place we once knew, which by the way was also an amazing map and setting, even if it was not the scariest, is no more, being replaced with an abandoned, creepy thing. What am I saying, bro? Steel Wool absolutely excels at environmental storytelling, and you can see it here with all the details they added. I mean, like, just the first second of the game, pretty much. The newspaper right behind you, it has writing telling you what happened. There was an earthquake that destroyed the Pizzaplex, or that's what they want you to believe. That's not what actually happened, probably. It was probably like the blog or something. That's what I think. How crazy is that? That's pretty cool, right? Locations have all the charm of the base game and the other ones. That's something Fnaf usually gets right. I'll not name specific games, but personality in them, I guess is the right way to put it, right? Except this time they're actually like scary, and the horror is increased, the aspect of the base game. That was good. When it comes to Security Breach, as much as I did love it, one thing that was really lacking was the horror aspect, considering that's what it was marketed as, a horror game. Not sure if I would call it that, but I liked it. And while, since I was a new fan brought in the game, yeah, I know, whatever, it didn't bother me that much, because it was new, I thought it was cool, and I wasn't really looking for anything scary in it. Compared to the others, and the fact that it is supposed to be a horror game, it definitely could have been better in that regard, by a lot. However, Ruin did not disappoint in that regard. Actually, I think it would be scarier than some of the games that most people might think are scary, but probably not. Every area, jump scares, cutscene ones, high stakes. The animatronics aren't really that much of a threat, but that's fine. Jump scares were actually really good, another thing Security Breach did not have. Like, they were popping out of the screen, so much detail put in. I loved them. They were just amazing this time. It is true, the animatronics don't always have the highest chance of getting you, due to it being hard to die to a lot of them. It's slightly helped out by Mexis, this creepy glitch rabbit thing that leads the animatronics towards you. It's kind of weird considering Mexis is not that much of a threat and he can barely really do much with the animatronics, but it's something. It's there, I guess. Talking more about the jump scares though, instantly you're thrown into this game. It's incredibly tense. I remember going through like that gift shop, Glamrock Gifts I think it was called, like right out before the lobby. That staff bot activated with everyone wanted to duel with the flashlights and shit. I jumped right out of my seat. That took me a second to calm down though, because I was extremely tense during that. Right at the end of the tutorial, if you can call it a tutorial, I guess that's what I call it. It's like the screen, it says Ruin.
Oh
Monty comes out of that pipe and pretty much everyone, bro. Once again, I jumped out of my seat. You can see the clip of Markiplier. Pretty much everyone was terrified by that. That, in my opinion, now this is going to be controversial, maybe. It is one of the scarier games, scarier than Fnaf 2, Fnaf 6, Sister Location, Fnaf 3. There's some that doesn't beat, but I kind of expected that. Seeing everyone hate on Security Breach with those like videos, even though I liked it, made me kind of sad, but I'm really glad to see that Ruin has had a much more positive reception among the community. But that's not all the scary parts. The daycare, even though you can't die to anyone in there except the Mexus, which will spawn in like the endos to kill you, which I guess makes kind of sense, though. I don't know how they got in. But, or outside of it, them again. Bonnie Bowl with the Mini Music Man, which I saw a lot of people struggle with. I didn't really struggle as much as a lot of them did, but MapHat, like for example, struggles, it took them a long time. It took me a lot longer to do like the Monty Golf catwalks because I was horrible at finding stuff. So, that's something I usually do, like when I'm playing games. The harder bosses, sometimes I find them to be easier than the quote-unquote easier ones. I find to be harder, like Breath of the Wild, Thunderblight took me way too long. I hate that boss. But Gibdo Queen and Tears of the Kingdom really didn't take me that long at all. Like second try. Thought it was pretty easy, but apparently nobody else thought so. Whatever. Chica's Bakery, Roxy Raceway. They each have their own fear factor to them that makes them worthy of calling it a scary game. But that's not all the game has to offer. After all, what is it without some gameplay? Now, I was talking to someone, right? They said the gameplay was absolutely horrible, the puzzles were too easy, it was all bad. In my opinion, I think it's pretty decent. Like, it's not like blowing anyone out of the water or anything. I don't really think any of the FNAF games really do that. But some of the... I don't want to say some of the better gameplay in the series because that's really controversial. Because I had a lot of fun playing it. Like... But objectively, it's pretty okay. It's not like amazing. Like I said, it's not amazing, but it's pretty good. And seeing someone say it has the least amount of gameplay in the series, absolutely crazy. Sister Location is right there. I'm just saying. No, it's not happening with that. I really don't see that. Either way, I don't need the series to be super gameplay focused, but it's serviceable and fun enough to the point where I won't get bored playing it. On to the more specific details, the puzzles, main aspects. Obviously, we got the Vanny mask. Let you go into this augmented reality thing. Everyone's different. It's more, I guess, pinkish was the word you would use to like describe it, right? It's really cool, but it also lets you like pass through like these glitchy objects, boxes, tape, whatever's there. It's basically like the main thing that'll help you solve the puzzles, and the fast wrench. There is a risk to it, but I'll move on to that in a second. You also need to have it on to access the security nodes, which are like these rabbit-looking things. Deactivate. Each one will have a varying number of child nodes you need to get rid of before connecting the dots. Actually, that sounds really weird out of context. It's like a connect the dots minigame that you have to do. You know? And cupcakes and lightning, and you can... Okay, I'm getting off track here. But basically, you do a mini game, and that's how you deactivate like the parent node and to get the stuff up and running and all that, right? That's all great. But why not have the mask on the whole time? Well, that's because Mexus, right? The glitch bunny thing come after you, summoning nearby animatronics to get to your location. The way to get rid of him, it's not that hard. Just take off the mask. If you're too close to him, he will not let you take it off. So you're gonna have to run away from him first. And then just wait like a 5 seconds or so, and then put it back on, you're good. The thing is though, if you do it for too long, when you take it off, sometimes you will just get like insta jump scare just like that. So, yeah. The animatronics he's bring to your location. When you take off the mask, they will still be there, obviously, because they're real. So, yeah, the final puzzle thing that I remember, the door conduit, which you get electricity to like these blue parts on the red line, right? And you gotta make them all up there. Make all the power line up with the correct stuff. Pretty easy stuff, you know. Not too hard. Pretty basic. That's fine. Other than these, it's run, jump, crouch, all that stuff from the base game. They did remove hiding though, so you can't really avoid anyone other than just like trying to get out of there. But it's not really easy to do considering you can't really go back a lot of the time. But now that I've gotten past that, I want to talk about the characters. Like, I love characters, right? It's what really keeps me invested in the story. My favorite part of story is characters, you know? Video games, talk about like Undertale, Sans Papyrus. I love Papyrus. Papyrus is so great. I would not love Undertale as much as I did if it weren't for him and his brother, obviously. Now, I won't care about the story as much. I'm not saying I won't at all, but like if they don't have like characters that I like, then it is whatever. Let's look at the main glam rocks. I'm gonna start with Chica because she seems like a good place to do that. She's like the kind of like the blank slate one, but she does have some personality to her. Obviously, she looks horrible as she should. They all do. Moldy cheese on her face and the trash bag in her torso, showing that she's still a glutton even now. Shoveling trash in her mouth, as she did in the base game, except this time it's not working out nearly as well. She's definitely like the yeah, I'll say she's like the least AI. She's not the smartest one. She takes a while to get moving, something that was actually a case with Shadow Chica and base security reach. She would take like a little while to like realize you're there and then keep going. It's been like upped. She wasn't even like moving at all if she didn't fall into that recharge station. She mindlessly walks around looking for food, grabs a cupcake. Very creepy, great design. There is one thing that makes her stand out from the rest. If you go behind the restrooms, you can find Chica's feeding Frenchie, and if you beat like level 20, I think, you'll get her voice box, and you're able to give it back. She'll lay out like I smell pizza before slumping back down, and it has led many to believe that there was a cut ending where you repaired all the glam rocks. Though this is possible. If we're talking, I don't really see how that could work with Freddy, unless they're not talking about Freddy, because I think that Freddy wouldn't know. He's cool, by the way. I'll talk about him later. Soon, actually. I think he's the next one. Or Roxy, who's like influential to the story. It was nice to see though, and hopefully those legs we saw from Monty, another thing that people were like pointing out and like, that doesn't seem right. Maybe we're gonna give it to him back. And there is an ending in the files that just says none, so I feel like if it was scrapped, it was really early in development. But next I'm gonna talk about Freddy, if you can call him that. He's just his body. He looks terrifying. Probably one of my favorite designs from this DLC, other than like Monty, Eclipse. He has the usual wear and tear, you know. What makes him look even scarier is that headless design. That's right, he's missing it. Probably because of the ending. The word prototype's on his foot. And I'm just gonna try my best to explain this. So, my best guess is that it was a design change, or something MatPat said, I forgot what it is, but it sounded right. It might have just been like something where they're like, you know, it was here, we're going to add this to the design, and it's fine, you know? It's whatever. That's just what I think, though. I do not think it's a different Freddy, because I don't think that would work. It's definitely the same one, kind of, because like, you know, his head's missing, whatever. Damage is similar. Removal of the head seems to imply that it is, and it'd be kind of like stupid if it wasn't. Now it's time to talk about like what ending it continues from. Is pretty obviously Princess Quest. Machine being tipped over with a sword. Freddy, obviously. is the only ending not included with the comics and the collectibles. It's Princess Quest. Like, I'm just going to say that now. I don't really see any argument for any other one. Yeah. But anyways, that tooth stomach thing that Freddy has, really sick. Present. Don't know what that's doing there, but it's also cool. Chasing was amazing. He didn't appear for much, but oh man, was that cool. Now, next I'm going to talk about my personal favorite Glamrock, Monty. I like him more than Bonnie. Just any Bonnie. I love Monty. Monty's amazing. And I'm going to talk about his connection with, like, Bonnie, like, later in the theory section, and that is a whole other thing I will get into later. Monty looks so cool, bro. He's like this just endo now, and he's got the red hair. That's like all he has left from his design. He's like this primal alligator, right? Amazing. I really like how they did that. It fits his personality too. Like, he's really aggressive. So sick when he's on screen. His voice lines are a little goofy. It's kind of funny. I will give him that. But I guess it does fit him, so it's fine. I really don't know what I can say more. I'm basically just like glorifying Monty. I'm not really saying anything other than this guy's amazing. You should love Monty as much as I do, and you really should, because Monty's amazing. Some people saying he's not as cool as he was. I disagree. He's great. He's great, and I do think that he will. Hopefully, will go back, save Monty with the legs. He'll come back, and happily ever after. Something like that. That's not really what usually happens in FNAF. Little bit of spoiler for later in the video. Please stop the Monty hate. He didn't do it. Innocent. But I will go into more detail later. Okay. He's menacing. And that is something I really like in characters in general, if they're supposed to be like an antagonist sort. Really makes you feel that they're like a threat, and you're like, oh, I gotta avoid this guy, right? Obviously. Now, he did get electrocuted by that Glamrock Bonnie sign. I don't necessarily think he's dead. I doubt they just kill off the major character like that, especially considering Chica and Roxy aren't. So, actually, Roxy might be the mimic, might have. Roxy might. Roxy. Yeah. I think she's not, though. I think the one who said casket at the elevator was Roxy. I think they're all great. I want to see a happy ending for him, Chica, and Roxy. Him being Monty. Maybe they can all be with Freddy one day, Gregory, Cassie, Vanessa. Really nice to see, and then we can move on with the next part of the story. That'd be amazing. Final, like, main Glamrock, Roxy. I love what they've done. She was just another character to me before, right? She was jealous, mean, anxious, whatever. But they turned her into one of my favorite characters. So likable. Really, it actually almost made me cry, right? When you had to deactivate her. It's crazy how little they needed to do here to make everyone like her. Genuinely, her speech, Cassie's birthday, was amazing. Something straight out of like a series with actual storytelling. Sorry for that. It's interesting, so I guess it's fine. I cannot help but find it interesting. It's interesting. That's really all I gotta say. This is different, though. It's a scene that made me sad on a level I did not expect from any FNAF thing. Like, you can tell Cassie's connection to her. The AR mask. Cutouts of her. It made it all the better when she came back. I really hope to see more of her and the others in the future. Let's talk about the others now. The other non-Glamrocks. What floor bots? You deactivate them. Probably connecting Bonnie and missing kids. Hard to tell. Won't bother. Staff bots. Funny things. Sun and Moon or Eclipse. Sun and Moon were my favorite character from the base game, and I'm glad to say they were given justice. I'm really glad we got to see like a good conclusion to their story. Something I was worried about when I saw Eclipse is that Sun might be like gone, because I love Sun. Like, he's just not there anymore. But luckily he doesn't seem to be, judging by him thanking us after Eclipse reappears. So that does make me happy. Moon does just seem to be gone though. I did like him, he was a villainous, and Sun's happiness makes it more worth it. More on Sun, his frankness is worse. Song, really sad, creepy. On to Eclipse though, while Sun will still be my favorite, I also definitely love this guy. He's so gentle and caring, kind of like Freddy was in the base game. That's enough confirmation for me that he's doing fine. With Sun, I'm so glad we saw this. That's another thing in Ruin that made me feel like real emotion. I might as well talk about Mexus. Originally he had this older, more creepy design, but I do prefer the newer one because it fits the theme better. Plus, it doesn't look digital. Well, they will work as they summon animatronics to you to try to take you out, because you're shutting down the security system, keeping the Mimic locked away. Them being a good guy was actually something I really didn't expect, but I guess it makes sense looking back on it. I don't really have much to say because they don't have really like a personality, but they are cool and a welcome addition to the game for sure. Maskbot, I'm just glad he came back, bro. Like, I was worried for a second when they said Mapbot wouldn't appear, and technically they're right, but Maskbot does appear as a thing. Gregory also not showing much, but I'll bring him up. I like him, cool, mysterious, really it gets a mention. Alright, time to talk about Cassie, the main character of the game. They do have like this cringeworthy dialogue, but overall they are pretty likable. And especially towards the end half of the game, they show some emotion in their voice. Sometimes they don't really seem to care though. Like, remember that like at the beginning everyone was saying how calm she was? Kind of weird. Don't know too much about them, other than like Gregory may have met, she had that party, her birthday. So I guess we do know a decent amount, but it's not the most. For her dad, I'm not really going to go into that. Maybe later in the theory section, but for now I'm just going to say he's not Afton, because I don't think he is. And overall, she was a serviceable protagonist. I wasn't upset with her. Bonnie's going to be safe for the next section, but he's a character, so I'll say him here. And we don't really have that much about him, so but actually, yes we do. And I'm going to talk about that a lot in a little bit. The Music Men. They were hilarious, honestly. I did not expect to see a lot of them. Kind of shocked me, but it's fine. It's welcome. They do have like the best jump scare, but Monty's is also really close. Something interesting, they have like some of them have like these rabbit ears, whiskers. It implies something. Thing in question, I'm not exactly sure about though. Alright, it's time. The Mimic. He's cool. Okay, look, I'm a big fan of Afton, but this guy's concept is so interesting that he's gotta be like my favorite one. Something I brought up before that just has to be mentioned here is how menacing he is. That's what makes this villain like on the whole other level. This guy takes that and brings it like up a notch, right? Design simple but effective. His backstory is only sort of like intentional evilness, along with just being an overall creepy character. Originally he wasn't like made for bad, but he did, and that's, I don't know. Read the books. You know, I'm really curious of what ending is canon though, because it could be of two. Elevator made the most sense to me until I found out that Endo was no longer in his costume after the scooper, meaning he escaped. Unless you saw the same video or something, like I did, there's a good chance you also didn't know that, because they don't really do a good job of showing that. For the little we do see of this character, they made every single moment on the screen count. The twist reveal was something I did see coming, obviously who didn't? I knew it was going to be him. But it was still so cool, and I'm great with this. I like this. Something the books, which don't have a great track record, did surprisingly set up well for this DLC, which is something I don't expect. And lastly, Candy Cadet, he foreshadows the villain, but I'm glad we saw him. Alright, time for Oh boy, the lore, the theories. There is a lot here. Cassie. This will not be the most controversial thing I say. I think she's a new character, no connection to anyone except Gregory and like the Glamrocks. I think that goes for her dad too. About her dad being alive, I'm not sure. Past tense is used to talk about them a lot, but I'm not entirely convinced that he's out of the question for a future protagonist or just a character in general. It's definitely made obvious that he is a technician or was one before it got shut down. She's very familiar with the Pizzaplex and all the characters there, meaning she was there quite a lot and got to go on early access rides, as we can tell by the Fox one that wasn't open. But she still mentioned going on it and how fun it was. We don't know the most about her, but it's enough to get a decent idea of who she is and where she comes from. A lot of the theories are going to be a lot of the theories about her being connected to older characters, I really don't see it. Alright, now let's talk about the elevator. And Gregory, did he make it fall? No, it was the Mimic. Now hear me out, this is going to be controversial, no matter what I said. For one, so-called Gregory changes from saying down there to down here. Another thing, overlapping text boxes. We see that in Security Breach a lot, but this is like their only real time it's in ruin, which I think does imply it. Also, there is a battery powering the elevator literally right next to where the Mimic would be standing. Like, yeah, also, how would Gregory do it? What? That just makes it make more sense to me. And while in the files it does say Gregory, I feel like they would not make the same mistake of calling the Princess Cassidy in the files. Or something similar to that. I know no matter what I was going to say, someone was going to get mad, so I'm just putting out what I think. Remember, this is not confirmed. I really need to make this clear. This is not canon. This is just my opinion. Another heavily debated topic. Glamrock Bonnie. See, I told you we would get to this, and oh boy, Monty didn't do it. Okay. Let me try my best to explain myself here. I will explain the reasons why some people think it's him or the Mimic, and why I believe that it was the latter. First, let's get Monty out of the way. You can see the claw marks that seem to imply it was him, with the green residue. But I'm not sure his claws would leave that color, right? Aren't his actual tips of his claws black? If anything, that would mean it was Roxy, right? I don't know. That just doesn't. I don't see that. And another thing, while yes, he did have claws before Bonnie got replaced, they all do. However, looking at the briefcase message about it in the base game, we see Monty needed to get the upgraded claws to play the bass. And it seems to me that these are the claws that are more powerful that would let him do something like this. The reason I believe this is because they allow Freddy to open the gates. The theory I have seen is that he fell onto the catwalks, explaining why what seems to be like similar damage to Monty after he was shattered. This was made by a Fnaf YouTuber, which no hate to them, they make great videos. However, they do have a few inconsistencies. In this same one, I saw them mention how the mark in their stomach area seems to imply that Monty cut into him. If this was true, then why would the same wound be used to support the idea of it being on Shattered Monty after he fell? Either it was from him falling or from Monty attacking him. Another piece of evidence is that they bring up Shattered Monty was originally supposed to be by Monty, Roxy, and Chica. This is true. However, once again, they bring up the chest hole, implying that Monty cut into him. Which one was it? I'm just saying. Maybe I didn't hear it right and they're saying it was one of these and not both or all three. But it's just something I wanted to bring up in case of the argument against mine. I also really don't agree with Monty going through all that with the setup or whatever, but I'll let you decide for yourself. Their name is not real name. Not at all. They make great content. Their video What Happened to Glamrock Bonnie, no matter how much I disagree with it, it's a good watch, so I do recommend you check it out and come to your own conclusions. Now, there is one last thing I want to bring up. Monty could not have done it out of jealousy. There is no way. He skips out on performances. If he really wanted to be in the band that bad, why would he do that? It doesn't make sense. He just isn't there a lot of the time. I don't know. It's not making sense to me. But now about the Mimic. There is one thing that I cannot explain, and that is how is it able to get to Bonnie, being trapped. My best explanation is that it was able to access some areas before it got trapped, maybe by Gregory and Vanessa. Maybe it lured Bonnie down there. I don't know how it got back up, but if you have a better idea for evidence that does have it going for it, leave it in the comments. Something that does actually make sense this time, though, is that the Mimic would actually have the strength to be able to do this. As we can see, it just shoves that forklift aside. It has insane strength. They might not, the books might not be entirely canon, but I'll go with it being relatively close to what actually happened. Just in case I want to bring up the books later. Now, actually wait, no, right now, because the Pizza Sim place, Fnaf's location, was originally meant to be a museum, and they brought down the Mimic to help. They tried programming it to rip off animatronic limbs. Did as it was told. There, bro. But then it moved on to the humans. Now why is this important? Look at Bonnie's body. Oh my. Look at Bonnie's body. Look closer at it. His arms, legs, torso, and other parts are disconnected from each other, exactly how it's described the Mimic was doing it to them. Now, considering how little we know right now, at least before there's a new theory that comes out, I can't say for sure, but this is really implies that what I think happened is true. I will defend Monty, and I think that's what happened. But I'll let you come up to yourself. The one last thing I will bring up is the cutout of Bonnie falling. What might be implied what I just said didn't happen, but I don't actually know where it is, and I can't pretend like I do before it's actually in the files, or actually in the game, or just, you know, like they went through the files, it's in the files. Oh, whatever. Few more things. Which ending was canon? Princess Quest, obviously. I already mentioned that. As for Ruin, it could be Elevator or Scooper. I don't see it. I don't really get it. We will have to wait and see if that Mimic's missing an arm. If it is, Elevator. If it's not, Scooper. Boom. That's how it is. Personally, I think it was Elevator. No real reason or anything. That's just what I think. I don't really have any, you know, reason. Okay, I've waited long enough to say this now, because there was one thing I was looking forward to in this game that made me really disappointed that it didn't happen. Where is DJ Music Man? He was by far one of the coolest and best parts of the game. Or just actually no, it was the best part. And I don't mean the character, though he is one of my favorites. I mean the music chase area, and everything about it was so sick, even if it took me a while. I hope he's doing fine and lived. I love this character. Really makes me mad we didn't see him, especially for him being one of the things I was looking forward to the most for this DLC. Now, that's my biggest complaint, but what else is there? Well, I guess it was pretty easy, but that helped me because I'm really bad at it. It still took me like, what, 5 hours? Though I was AFK sometimes, so that might have influenced it. It didn't bother me too much, especially because some sections were difficult, but I thought it might as well. I also think Mexus probably should have been like buffed so it can appear more often, get the animatronics to you faster. The animatronics themselves maybe been a little bit faster, you know, been able to get you. Monty specifically was really slow. Moon doesn't attack you in the daycare. Whatever. I don't really know how it would have worked with like getting him there. Maybe you lure him there or something. I don't know. He didn't really do much. I wish Moon got a little more screen time, but it's fine because Sun did and got more voice lines and stuff like that. You can probably see I really enjoyed this. Didn't really have too many problems with it, but this little rant was basically for me is just say why I wanted DJ Music Man in it. In conclusion, I loved Ruin. It was basically everything I asked for except for DJ Music Man, who I was really hoping for. Horror, characters, lore. Many other things are great. Genuinely fun to play. Had a great time, and I hope if you haven't gotten around to seeing it, then you definitely should. I expected to really like it, but this was just on a whole other level. I honestly don't even know how to explain how good it is, but hopefully I was able to do somewhat in this video. Have a great day. Catch you later.